Hello everyone, my name is Haley Barrett, and the species I have chosen to address is the Boreal Woodland Caribou, or Rangifer tarandus caribou, which is one of 4 subpopulations existing under that Latin name. What makes this ungulate unique from other subpopulations is that of its preferred biomes, because as the name suggests, it can be found in boreal woodlands as well as peatlands, fens, and bogs, where it serves as an umbrella species throughout those located in 9 of Canada's provinces. Rangifer tarandus caribou are all known for their consumption of arboreal and ground lichens. During the winter, they are known to use their concave hooves to dig up the latter from underneath the snow, and during the warmer months, they are known to consume shrubs, grasses, and mushrooms. After consuming said food and growing to maturity, they weigh on average 121.15 to 700.44 pounds and can grow as tall as 4.9 to 7.6 feet. They are unique from other caribou species due to their distinctive pattern of chocolate brown and white fur, as well as for the fact that both females and males have antlers, although females are typically smaller in that regard, as well as in their stature. Moreover, they have a lower birth rate, as females are only able to have 1 calf per year, after reaching sexual maturity at 2.5 to 3.5 years old. Other notable characteristics are that females are the only parent involved in raising their calf, and do so for around 1.5 months. Overall, calves have a 30% survival rate, but after this period, females are found to live longer than males, living to about 15 years compared to males, which typically only survive for 4.5. This difference is due to the fact that during the fall rut, or mating season, which takes place during October to November, males abstain from eating and undergo interspecific reproductive competition, as well as shed their horns soon after, all of which makes them more susceptible to predation by wolves and bears. The threats posed to this species relate somewhat to the aforementioned. In 2012, it was determined that throughout 9 of Canada's provinces, there were a total of 57 boreal woodland caribou herds, of which 33 were determined by the Environment and Climate Change Canada, ECCC, as being likely to vanish in the future. Accordingly, boreal woodland caribou have been designated as threatened by COSOIC, or the Committee on the Status of Endangered Wildlife in Canada, under the federal SARA, or Species at Risk Act, which was enacted in 2003, due to their extreme habitat loss and fragmentation caused by anthropogenic linear disturbances, which have lowered the species' carrying capacity and has bolstered higher rates of predation by wolves. Accordingly, the federal government, through SARA, in 2012 ordained that all 9 provinces should strive to obtain and maintain 65% undisturbed habitat for boreal woodland caribou in order for their populations to become sustainable. However, whilst all 9 provinces have been struggling to achieve this, I will focus on the province of Alberta, which once contained 16 but now contains only 15 boreal woodland caribou herds and has disturbed 72% of their critical habitat space. According to the province's Wildlife Act, boreal woodland caribou are also designated by the province as being threatened, and since has faced numerous issues with maintaining the herds they currently have. This is due to the fact that Western Canada is the leading foreign supplier of oil to the United States, with much of this resource being located in Alberta's boreal woodlands and peatlands. Consequently, 53.4% of Alberta's disturbed critical habitat is taken up by seismic lines. These lines have caused other ungulates, such as moose and white-tailed deer, to move into boreal woodland caribou range due to their own loss of habitat space, as well as increased access to these areas, something which is also contributed to by climate change. Accordingly, boreal woodland caribou now face higher rates of interspecific competition for resources. Moreover, the increase in this ungulate density, as well as reduction in shrub and tree coverage, has allowed wolves to more easily access and become more drawn to these greater populations of ungulates, which has subsequently lowered the survivability of boreal woodland caribou. So what is being done? The first measure taken by Alberta, which is still ongoing, is a wolf culling program that was instated in 2006 within the Little Smoky Range. This has been undertaken through the use of strychnine-laced bait, as well as aerial shooting from helicopters, which has caused much outcry amongst the public, and has been determined to only stabilize and not increase boreal woodland caribou populations. Notably, at the same time this was taking place, 217 oil wells were since established within the Little Smoky Range, an area, as of 2015, known to already have 95% disturbed critical habitat. Not to mention that despite these issues, the number of such programs have instead increased, with some being instituted in the East Side, Athabasca, and Cold Lake ranges as of 2016. Another tactic, which has found slight but debated success, is that of fenced-in rearing facilities located in Little Smoky, Cold Lake, and east side Athabasca River ranges, wherein pregnant mothers and their calves are kept away from predators. Moreover, as of 2017, increased hunting of other ungulates by First Nations has been promoted, but has not been reported on in detail. However, these tactics do not address what various groups have determined to be the main cause of boreal woodland caribou decline: anthropogenic habitat destruction. What has been done to address this has varied. Mild efforts include the utilization of deferrals and restrictions on energy development, the promotion of pipeline mitigation, buffers, the closure of certain roads temporarily, the use of shared roads by multiple industries, the employment of temporary roads, in addition to the restoration of areas that are no longer being altered for human industrial purposes. However, I will now address the main issue causing boreal woodland habitat destruction in more detail, as well as what has been done to rectify it: that of seismic lines, which cover 422,000 kilometers and make up 54.3% of disturbed habitat in Alberta. These are areas of land which are disrupted in the process of seismic exploration, which involves the use of heavy machinery and explosives to detect sound waves in order to pinpoint resources, such as oil, present underground. The placement and assessment of these pipelines by removing soil, peat, and other vegetation, compressing the landscape, and altering its hydrology disturbs various ecotypes throughout Alberta, such as fens, bogs, and mesic sites. While seismic lines have decreased substantially in size, from conventional seismic lines being 3 to 8 meters wide to low-impact seismic lines being 2 to 4 meters wide, now having a winding shape instead of straight, and are implemented less invasively with less flora and soil removal, such changes have only marginally reduced the amount of insulation, predator site exposure, and anthropogenic intrusion, such as the use of ATVs, typically caused by this process, as the numerosity and area of its presence, with grids which are on average 40 kilometers by kilometer squared, still serves to disrupt a critical habitat space. Moreover, research has shown that natural regeneration is slowed down significantly throughout all the aforementioned ecotypes, with estimates projecting 60 years on average to recover, and is especially worse for poor fens as well as bogs due to these areas' loss of hummocks and lowered water tables, making it more difficult for trees to establish and grow. Given this fact, and that fens are the most frequented by boreal woodland caribou, they are of high priority to restore. Unfortunately, whilst forest management agreements are required by Alberta for logging timber companies to enact reclamation, according to Filichetti et al., restoration work is presented as optional for oil and gas pipelines. Consequently, as of 2019, only 3 oil and gas companies have performed restoration efforts throughout this province. One of the likely reasons for this is due to the fact that the restoration of these areas, those bombarded with grid-like seismic lines, have shown to cost on average $12,500 per kilometer to restore. That said, these groups have seen great success in their employment of mechanical site preparation, MSP, such as by mounding, which mimics natural hummocks, and has been shown to produce 1.6 times greater tree regeneration at restored sites compared to untreated areas, except in past cases where solely graminoids and invasive grasses have been outplanted, which is unfortunately all too common. In conclusion, more groups should be required to reclaim their sites as well as incorporate more informed methods if effective changes to be made, given that current caribou habitat loss exceeds the rate of its restoration, which is also projected to be worsened by climate change through increased wildfires, which will shift upland boreal woodlands into grasslands and deteriorate peatlands and insect regimes, which will promote disease, causing devastating effects by 2080. Thus, greater restoration and conservation work is vitally important in order to reach the 65% undisturbed habitat benchmark that will help stabilize the species herds and give them a better chance of survival against such odds, especially since all boreal woodland caribou populations are under threat of declining, and as an umbrella species, their loss represents the current loss of boreal woodland and peatland biomes. Overall, Alberta's mitigation efforts have not been enough to raise the population numbers of their boreal woodland caribou herds, something which is not being helped by the continued degradation of caribou range, as despite the requirement of having caribou protection plans in place, this still allows companies to perform industrial activities within said ranges, despite the harm they cause. The promotion of habitat loss not only impacts other species and their dynamics, First Nation peoples as a culturally important native species, and the rest of the population of Canada who views this species as an iconic animal and features it on their commerce, but also affects those valuing boreal woodland caribou and their biomes around the globe, as Alberta contains 17.5% of the world's peatlands as well as 15 herds of this amazing species. Therefore, it is vital that more restoration and conservation work be performed for boreal woodland caribou populations to once again become sustainable and thrive.